Hello and welcome to another episode of Run Till You're Done. This month, in the month of February, it is raising awareness in the UK for cardiac health and is Heart Month. So we're in for a treat with this week's guest. He's had an array of cardiac issues, which he's going to be talking about it. But beyond that, what a treat we are in for. He is some runner. Just a couple of highlights. He's ran UTMB 5 times. He's completed the West Highland Way 11 times, 10 of which have been sub 24 hours. He's went up and down Ben Nevis 15 times in the race. He's probably done it way more than that. And he's completed all the Munros in Scotland. I can't wait to find out more about this guy, Mike. Welcome to the show, Bob Allison.
Thank you very much for asking me. It's a pleasure.
Welcome on the show, Bob. Nikki didn't know before she tried to introduce you for the show that I've known you for a long time. So the resume wasn't as much of a shock to me as she's getting really excited about it. So we've got a lot to talk about. But right from the start, tell us the question that we ask everybody: how did you first get into running?
Well, I wasn't really sporty when I was at the school. Played a wee bit for the school team, but I wasn't very good. And the coach just says, "Forget about trying to get the ball, Bob. Just try and take the man down," as it was in the 70s attitude towards football. But I got into motorcycles in a big way at 16, and that pretty much occupied was a massive interest for like a few decades almost, and just generally socialised, travelling about Europe in the motorbike touring, and got the Isle of Man TT, and a long time going to clubbing in Ibiza, Mallorca, Crete, everywhere like that. Great fun. But then my wife had been trouble with endometriosis, the gynecological problem that affects, unfortunately, a massive amount of women. And it caused chronic pain, adhesions, and all the stuff under the sun. So she began to be restricted to what she could do. So in her early 30s, we had to have a lifestyle change, and after her hysterectomy at that point, we were going for small walks, as you're supposed to do, and my walks got a wee bit bigger and bigger on my own, and then I tried to jog a bit, and I was sneaking out in the darkness with a coat and that on in the winter, and jogging a wee bit and walking a wee bit. Then after a couple of months, I decided once I'd be able to run around my scheme in a winter, it was about 2 miles, I'm going to come out as a runner. And I think I got my shorts like Pegasus on and an old t-shirt, and I think I seen the neighbours' curtains twitching like, "Oh, Bob's a runner." And I came out, and then I started running. And of course, I stopped smoking in '93. It coincided with this, and trying to generally get better health. And I also went for walks up the Lomans, and began to love that, began to feel great, feeling fitter. And a mate took me up Glencoe and said we're going to walk up something called a Munro, which I have no idea what it was, just a big mountain in Glencoe. So I went up there, broke every rule under the sun, came off the wrong side of Buccleuch Moor, pouring the rain, navigationally challenged was the understatement. And then I just sort of went more and more. I started going circuit training 3 times a week at lunchtimes, and became really, really addicted to it. And it helped me mentally cope, because I try to look after pain management and cope mechanisms, etc., etc. So the running definitely helped, be it creating another level of stress, trying to get home before I go and pick her up at work, and I know I'm going to have to run faster, and I'm up the hills, and I'm thinking, this is over ambitious. I'm going to have to run with the boots on to get back to the car, because I'd say to be back at a certain time. This was pre-mobile phone, so it was a pretty rapid upswing to just kind of think, I'm going to get fit, I'm going to stop smoking, we're going to have to change your lifestyle, really.
And Bob, what was your first race that you entered? How did you go from your walking, going up the Munros, to actually entering your first formal race?
My first race was the Glenrothes Half Marathon in May 1995. And that first year I did heaps of races. I got to do that first year for the 150 at Glenrothes Half, the 135 at Aberfeldy. And then between that year and next year, I done 25 half marathons and 6 marathons, and I just couldn't get enough. I'd got down to 131 and a half, and just loved it. And it gave us something to do because we'd drive to local half marathons, 10Ks, whatever, mark the calendar. Gail would come along, bring a book, we'd find a coffee shop. She'd go away and have a couple of scones and a coffee. I'd go and run a bit and finish the race, and then we meet lots of people, and it just went from there. Like, so that was the first race. Probably about 330 since then.
And out of 330, you've been back to a lot of them a lot of times, like UTMB 5 times, West Highland Way 11. What keeps pulling you back to the races that you've done? Is it because you like them, or is there other reasons?
Well, I like all individual events, but when I was begun doing ultras, I looked at Western States, Leadville, Hard Rock. I'd always wanted to do the MDS as well, Marathon des Sables, but these races then wanted an ECG printed, and I didn't want to go to America and fail the ECG because I had arrhythmia from about 2002. Also, Gail wasn't in a condition to travel long distances in a flight, and there was only really me helping her along. So I didn't want to be away for a week myself, and I didn't know anybody that was doing that stuff then really to travel abroad with. So the West Highland Way, I remember starting doing hill races in 2002, and then looking at the Scottish hill racing hill runners fixture calendar and seeing the West Highland Way, and it said 95 miles. I thought that must be a mistake. That's a bloody long hill race, like. And then I got an entry form 2002 from Dario, the one and only Dario, really nice guy, Dario Miller-Langry, the race director, when I got involved. And then I started and looked at the entry form and thought, no, this is far too big. I'd done a 50K at that point, Speyside Way, but to jump for there, but then I went back in 2003 and had a go at it. But the West Highland Way, it's your home race in Scotland. It's a wonderfully organised race. It's a great trail. I started going and training on the West Highland Way, taking day trips, and I've probably done it at least 35 times in both directions between the race and training and the fling. And then a mate mentioned, oh, you've got to go to the Alps. There's this race, 2010, called Ultra Trail Mont Blanc. You'll love it, because I was loving the mountains. By that time, I'd finished on the Munros. And so, again, I went across there. I couldn't believe the scale of the mountains, the jaggedness, the snow, the buzz in the tune, just incredible. And it was the same with Transvolcania. My wife enjoyed the holiday there, like went to La Palma, a couple of weeks in an all-inclusive hotel, swimming pools, and I just happened to do this race called the Transvolcania that I'd seen on Eurosport. It was in the days when Killian was just beginning to become a household name, and Eurosport were putting out Golden Trail and just sky running races. So again, went back there because I got to know people from England that went, stayed in the same hotel. There was a great buzz. The organisation were in the hotel. Got to know some of them, and the route was just spectacular. The friendliness of the island, the finish. There was a band playing on a platform, smoke machines, the full works. It was just an amazing occasion. So all these races are just the community. It suited us logistics wise. I knew a bit about the event. I knew people that went, the camaraderie, the environment. Just fantastic. And as my health, because I atrial arrhythmias throughout this, and it was a hit or miss training. So to actually embark upon something purely as a race wasn't really on my radar anymore. And they fitted the bill. Just a huge adventure. that incorporate the holiday with other people. And that's why I'll keep going back to a lot of them time and time again.
And Bob, I'm going to be totally selfish here and ask my first question that is not on the question set, so apologies if this springs on you. West Highland Way, you say you've done it over 35 times. I am keeping everything crossed and doing my first fling this year. Any tips?
Any tips? Well, just the usual ones, Nikki. Get on the route, which you're doing regularly. I'm following your Strava and everything. It's great. Get out there, do sections on it. Nutrition, just try and work out what you're doing in each section, what works and what doesn't work. The terrain, you're getting familiar with it. Pre-race routine, it starts at 6 in the morning. Just figuring out all these type of things, having enough kit, could be terrible weather. Just the standard stuff that's so available now, and just to try to apply what works for you. I mean, I always did regular training routes, like Mulgai to Balmaha, back to Mulgai, Balmaha to Benglas, back to Balmaha, the whole Derry Darish, Benglas up to Forest Lodge. Never liked doing the Ranachmuir training. I thought it was just bleak, and if you're running okay, it was fine, but it's just, you can see so far in front, so I abandoned that bit. And then always done King's House to Braveheart Car Park and back to King's House. And these are long days, and I know people like to get the bus and share it with other people, which is great, but I was on my own, so I was quite happy to park the car, and if I turned back, it was a failure. So I had to mentally go to the other end and then come back. So you had to go through that process of mentally. Plus, every common point, like from Balmaha to Benglas, I knew how long roughly it would take me to get to Riverdena and Inversnaid, Benglas, and I would look to do the same speed on the way back, roughly, and that gave me an idea of pacing. So I wasn't going it too fast. And in the days, I was just writing it down on a bit of paper. And there's occasionally appalling weather. I've looked longingly at walkers at Riverdena and been soaked and feel miserable. Well, asked this guy for a lift back to Balmaha. I said, no, Bob, if you do that, you're going to get in the car 5 minutes ago. I've failed. Stop, please let me out. So it was as much mental doing that. And I remember 2005, it's pouring the rain in February, going from Balmaha to Benglas. And in the days, there wasn't so many bridges or easy bits to cross some of the streams. And I was looking at to try and jump this wee stream, not that far from the end of the lochside, and I smacked my forehead, and there's an overhead branch, nearly knocked myself out, blood running down the forehead. And I thought, I was dizzy for a bit, and I thought, I should just turn back now and forget the last 2 or 3 miles up the dune, both in that. But then I thought, no, if I go back, I'll feel better. It's like, I should have kept going. So crazy stuff, but it does help you to sort of dig in, draw all your resources, and just channel your inner grit and get across one problem after another. Small steps, next checkpoint, the next drop bag, the next ski, the next gate, the next bit along the loch side. And there will be problems. I've never had a fling that I didn't get cramped climbing across that stile at Cupu Alley. I don't know if it's still there. There was a wooden stile, and then rising about on the ground. It's just, there's a metal big gate, and then there was a fence, and you had to climb over that. Probably changed me, but always had cramp there, always had issues. And if you have a great run from start to finish, you're very lucky. So
Yeah,
I'm sure you'll be fine.
I don't think the style is there anymore. I think it's possibly just a gate or something there now.
Right, and neither is the 15 minutes to hang on to the wire fence in the West Highland Way beyond Benglas. It was there in 2003, and trying not to fall in the river before they built that extra path and drained it and put all the gravel in. Like, but get on the route, realising what you're up against, and so many people now you could chat away if that's your thing, or help people out, or I've gave people paracetamol and gels and bars and encouraged them and helped them. Come on, you're nearly there, you'll be fine. Let's walk a bit. And great adventure, great do, and it's a fantastic organised event as well. So you'll love it. I'm sure you'll be fine.
Thank you so much. I'm really fortunate that I do get to speak to a lot of people that have done the West Highland Way like years and years and years ago, and I'm often told it's easier now.
Well, you still have to cover 95, 96 miles on your feet and deal with all these problems. There's differences to the route. Simple.
It is just different because the flatter it is, or the smoother it is, the faster you got to run. So that makes it harder. It's just
Absolutely.
different.
Aye.
For some, Mike, others it's just to finish. So, Bob, as I said in my introduction as well, you've completed all the Munros, and I don't want to move on to the next part until I've got a couple of questions about those. So, with them all, 282, did you run up and down them all? And do you have a favourite one or a round of them that you have?
No, I never run up and down them all. When I started doing it, I was just basically hiking, and I had a really heavy bag because I was so sort of concerned about having to get rescued, and them saying, oh, he was ill prepared and ill equipped. So everything had like almost a full winter kit in the height of summer. So I'd done quite a few, and then I got involved in a bit of hill running, and then I've seen these people skitting about with their Walsh TV shoes on and trainers and stuff and like bags, and I'm lugging all this stuff about no matter what the weather is. So if the conditions were all right, once I got a bit experienced, I started moving a bit faster. And as I say, because I booked cottages up north, myself and my wife went for holidays there, and I would target a cottage where it had a bunch of Munros, and every other day I'd go to the hills, and every other day would go a beach combing session and go for cake and coffee and that like. And I began to make big routes, 2 big routes, just drawn on the map, Northern Survey on the lap, that click, oh, that's 30, 40k, that'll be fine. And then I'd come across these rivers and I think, oh no, it's in Spain. So I'd be going up doing the banking, trying to get across, and then have to wade in and nearly getting swept away. And then I'd look at my watch, thought, I say to be back here at 6:30. I'm going to really have to get cracking on. So started moving a lot of them faster. And then once I was training for other stuff, like I was running them, like, as you say, I've done Ben Nevis numerous times and Annahegac numerous times. My preferences were for the Skye Munros. The Skye Ridge is just spectacular. Torridon's a great area. I spent many holidays up in Torridon. Ben Nevis, the Moors and Glencoe, these are all cracking areas. So I wasn't running them all. There's some of them you just got to stop and sit down and look at the view and appreciate how long you're here. But I often was on days out and think, there's one across there. Maybe I can go across that. And then that's when I thought, I shouldn't have bothered. And even like doing Ben Nevis, it was only a half day, and I thought, I told my wife where I was going, right? And then what did I do? I go back to the car, thought, I'm going to jump in the car and go around and do that little Munro down at Achnasheen, which is about 17 miles away. So I'm away doing that, and I'm thinking, if something happens, I'm well away from my leave a note for where you're going. And so I could just made up as I went along. And I love doing them in the winter as well, getting the crampons, ice action. Every mountain, when it's covered in snow and ice, becomes potentially a major expedition that you're really pleased to get back for. Make a turnaround point, right? If I'm not at the summit at 2:30, I've got to get back because it's going to get dark at 3 o'clock, and I don't want to be up on ridges in the dark with a torch in myself and a white out and whatever. So I was a great adventure. I loved it. I loved the whole sort of getting up at. I've left my house at midnight to go and do Munros, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, all the gear, coffee in the car, drive along. Great. I really enjoyed it.
And Nikki said that you've done 282. I'm going to guess that you've done 284.
Was it
I done the ones that
284?
used to be Munros, and Mike, I've probably done most of the tops as well, because if there was a top between Munros, I would go over a top. I would do a top that was an outlier, because I've tried to do the tops, but I haven't done all the tops. Tops are something that's no classified as a Munro, but could be as high, it's too close, or some of the criteria that the stipulate Munros that just doesn't fit because of the other ones round about it. But yeah, and I did 4 bits and everything on the way, and depending on the weather and the time, it was just, I mean, I did training things for the West Highland Way, like drive up to Glen D up at Braemar, run in, go up Cairntoul, Angels Peak, round the Bray Reach, and then snow and everything. Because you got snow then in May, drop down to Larragrew, down to Corallan Bridge, ice cream cone at the caravan site, and then back to Linnadee and drive home. Huge days out. Some of them, I was saying that was just a bit too far the day, like, and punching the heather and desperate to get back to the car.
Nicky was surprised there. If you'd done the Munro round at a certain time, 2 of them have now been downgraded. They've been removed.
Yeah.
So I was right in theory, but it used to be 284.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as we've mentioned a few times, you're part of a club that I am. It's an exclusive club that nobody wants to be part of. It is the Dodgy Heart Club. And this is cardiac, was it British Cardiac Month or something like that, British Heart Month. And if you're comfortable talking about it, how did you find out about your heart issues, and how has that affected your running?
Well, I'd started to feel a palpitation, quite a strong, irregular heartbeat, maybe about 2001. And because it was something called paroxysmal atrial fibrillation, just means it's low and there isn't a discernible underlying thing they could point to. I just persisted. You have to try and manage the triggers, which are alcohol, caffeine, stress, excitement, exercise, anything that punches your heart with adrenaline and stress hormones. So I was out cycling. I did quite a lot of cycling as well, and I was out with the guys, and there's always pushing each other on. There's always people at the front that are really good, and I was usually hanging in the back because I'd maybe done a long hill run the day before, but I felt we were going really bang, like, so I went away doing A&E later on that day, and they caught it on an ECG, had atrial fibrillation. So managing the triggers was, as I say, well, I wasn't overweight, and I'd stopped smoking and everything a long time before that. So, but it came back more frequent, more persistent, and for longer durations. So put me on beta blockers for a couple of years to try and calm the rapid heart rate, but they were a bit of a nightmare because they shut you down and they make you feel pretty down, and they're not conducive with doing much. So I was like cheating. I was having extra caffeine, coffee, and the cardiologist, to be fair, just says, well, look, I didn't agree with you, missed them out, and I was cutting them in half and trying to do whatever. I did my fastest West Highland Way when I was taking beta blockers somehow. But so, and then come 2007, I started to do a lot of research, and I found out about cardiac ablation procedures. It's not a cure, but it's a pretty good treatment that could be effective. So I got involved with an electrophysiologist at Glasgow indirectly, and he agreed to do one in 2007. So I had that, and it seemed to help for a while. But then I did other things like atrial fibrillation. I could bore everybody to death with this. Fibrillation is a linear wavelet storm. It just completely takes over your electrical system, and flutters a circular one in your atrium. It's not quite as dangerous or debilitating. The whole arrhythmia thing debilitates you because if you get breathless, you get fatigue, you get all these things, like, and everything becomes extremely difficult, not to mention disconcerting, because your heart's off on a rapid trajectory on its own. So I survived for a bit, persevering, but I wasn't able to follow training plans or anything like that, because sometimes I'd go out and I'd just go bang, and I'd have to walk a bit, and it might cardio revert itself, it might not, so I'd walk home. So I did what I could when I felt okay. So it was almost like binge exercise when I felt good. I tried to do all the stuff, hill reps and hill runs, fartlek, blah, 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 long runs. But then it kind of came back. And in 2013, I got another ablation in Edinburgh with another electrophysiologist, and it helped for a bit. But I was getting all sorts of other things. I was getting various atrial tachycardias. I'm getting significant interatrial delay. So I persevered, but I was getting chronotropic incompetence, which means your sinus node doesn't respond to the demands of exercise or anything like it. Not just that, like shoving your shopping trolley or cutting your hair, shoving your lawnmower, anything that requires your heart to speed up. My heart would just say, nah, forget it, mate, I'm finished. I've got disease, I've got disorder, I'm not speeding up. So they began to mention a pacemaker at that point. I had various treadmill tests over the years, and I had 2-to-1 ventricular block as well, where you're only so many of your beats go through. I need to read this because I've read so much and it's just such a complicated thing. And forgive me, anybody that might be listening, it's really clued up. In a junctional rhythm where some of your P waves go through and your AV node tries to work for your sinus node and go backwards. So I was getting more and more problems like electrical. They're all electrical problems as opposed to your plumbing problems, the circulation aspect of it. So I got a pacemaker in 2020, just during lockdown. I had a couple of cancellations before that, and I hoped it'd help the sinus node disorder, but there's an awful lot of settings. I got one ordered in that had a breathing sensor and a motion sensor, accelerometer and a minute ventilation, with lots and lots of settings on this, including endurance sports setting that changes algorithms for long and short-term moving averages. But I was still getting an awful lot of arrhythmia. I was still getting persistent arrhythmia. So the electrophysiologist in Edinburgh agreed to do another one in 2023 to try, and it's like damming water. Every time you burn a lot of your heart tissue, it starts somewhere else or breaks through somewhere because you're relying on scarring to bridge a lot of the gaps for the rogue electrical system and block them. So he did that, but he wasn't convinced. He think they might have caused another SVT, basically a supraventricular tachyarrhythmia, which is just something that's no atrial fibrillation or atrial flutter, just kind of random. So he put me back on the list, and a year later, he'd done another one. At this point, I think I'd become a challenge because they knew I was trying to do ultras, I was trying to run, I was persistent, I was booking appointments to see people privately, and the same people, they're very helpful, but and one of the guys had started running, so he began to understand the sort of obsession a bit, because running is addiction. I mean, it was addiction when I was first getting into it. It makes you feel good, you want to do more, and then sometimes though you're getting the bad drugs that's making you feel worse because you're too tired or you're overtraining or whatever. So I've had about 30 plus changes to my pacemaker at the clinic. They're very, very helpful because what suits me will not suit anybody else. So I've got the feedback, how I feel, and whether it's too aggressive, like going up too fast, too many beats a minute, too slow coming down, too fast coming down, whether the breathing sensor is not getting enough influence because it's physiological as opposed to the physical accelerometer. Once you cross that initial activity threshold setting, you'll be glazing over here. You're like, I'm sorry. But so there we go. I've got the pacemaker. I've got all these problems. I've still got arrhythmias. I get a tight chest. I get a feeling indigestion. Sometimes it's a hit or a miss. I get very, very breathless. I have to stop after very short distances sometimes. It's like swimming underwater. You feel like you're suffocating. Stop, get some breath, get going. But the guys, the cardiologists have just said, look, just try to keep doing as much as you can for as long as you can. I got told maybe about 15, 18 years ago, cardiologist says, and he was a great guy and great help, but he just says, should you not just give up? And I says, well, if I give it up, I'll be back here in 5 years' time overweight. You'll be telling me to exercise. And he says, probably, he laughed. I'd grown up with this cardiologist, but he was a plumber, so we got into the electricians for that specialism to try and do the ablations. And I recently had treadmill testing last year, and they managed to adjust amplitude settings on some of the pulses and everything. And I had the ECG connections and the ultrasound. I was really privileged, and I was very thankful for this treatment and all the help I've had for everybody to try and keep me going. And I've just tried to keep going because they've tried to help me, basically. It's been such a big part of my life, and there's not much else. So basically, that's the heart thing, purely electrical. I do have minor wear and tear on a mitral valve and mildly dilated upper chamber, but that's of not of concern.
And a lot of like Garmin's and Apple Watches and stuff now, atrial fibrillation is one of the things that they detect. Do you have a watch like that, and does it actually detect anything?
Well, I bought my first GPS watch and I got my pacemaker to try and give feedback, to maybe it would tell me what it thought my heart was beating and what I felt, because bearing in mind it's majority of the time it's a pacemaker. I've got a maximum pace rate and I've got a maximum sensor rate to stop tracking atrial arrhythmia through to my ventricles, because I've had one life-threatening ventricular arrhythmia last year that they were surprised I didn't pass out. I have a box in the house called the Boston Communicator, Boston Scientific Pacemaker, and I can push the button and it uploads a snapshot of what my pacemaker's recorded, but it will store life-threatening events. So I'd stored this event, so I got a call from the hospital one night, and I just dealt with it, because over the years I've felt really bad sometimes, and I try to stay calm, put my head down, try and breathe and get over it. And they were surprised I didn't actually collapse with this one, because if ventricular arrhythmias, if your heart stopped pumping, you could black out and pretty much die in a couple of minutes. So my Garmin, I bought a chest strap as well, and I know, Mike, you feel the wrist one's pretty good, and they are pretty good, but I wanted to make sure, and to be quite honest, I couldn't even tell you what it's reading now, whether it's, I think it's the ventricles, because they're going at a bit slightly less, but because it's a pacemaker, now my pacemaker has also got a 15 beat offset to try and encourage my heart to have intrinsic heartbeat to make you live longer and last longer. It's detrimental to keep the pacemaker pacing all the time. So the pacemaker set at 55. When I went in the theatre to get it fitted, my resting heart rate was 38, but I didn't have any problem with blacking out. So it's 55. So my heart will go down to as low as 40, 37 on my Garmin, and it will show that before it kicks in and brings it back up to allow my heart to beat on its own. So to be honest, I have no idea. It doesn't show atrial arrhythmia. It doesn't show any atrial rhythm, but when you have this heart rate variability, you know, if it records that and it tells you sleep's a nightmare, mate, yeah, it's a nightmare, because every time I roll over vigorously in sleep, my pacemaker kicks off because I go above the activity threshold. But if you've got that set too low, then it's hard to get going. And if you don't have upper body movement, the pacemaker will no kick off anyway. So if I'm sitting on a static bike, I've got to be rocking about the bike. It's all quite difficult to work around the boot to actually exercise, because it's not just running, it's any exercise. It's trying to help. So to answer your question, not in my case, but it's just, it picks up stuff and it's helpful, but if I swing my left arm about, my heart will just rocket right up to the maximum in like 20 seconds. No problem. But if I use my right one, it'll barely move. because the pacemaker's on the left-hand side, for instance. So it's difficult to do anything. And over all the years, because I did negative splits pretty much all the West Highland Way races, and some of that was because I had to be within myself to try not to trigger an arrhythmia in the early stages. It happened a few times though, and it stuck on for quite a bit of the race, which was unpleasant. You know, so you let it stop, let it keep going, because the biggest danger is a stroke from blood clots. But I just had to deal with it really and manage it as best I could, or give up. But give up wasn't an option, because then I'd have even more problems shoving my shopping trolley ass or cutting my grass, pushing my lawnmower, whatever. So it's a difficult one. I'm not exactly sure what's monitoring, but I've gave them great feedback over the few years that the cardio technicians like, and I always take them a box of chocolates so that they're no fed up seeing me.
I'm sure they won't. And talking about box of chocolates, over the years, have you eaten boxes of chocolates during your run, or how has your fueling changed?
Well, the fueling, you did have gels when I first started doing ultras. I used power bar gels and SIS gels, but predominantly when I first did the West Highland Way, for instance, it was on the back. Dario spoke to you, and Dario Malrang, the race director, the entry procedure was, he'd usually phone you up and you'd scribble a wee bit on an entry form, but he'd phone you up. Well, I wasn't available. So he spoke to my wife for 45 minutes and she had absolutely no idea much of what I was doing. I goes and does days on the hills, and long cycle runs 100 mile and stuff like this. It seems okay, he'll be fine. So I just extrapolate what I did on mountain days. A bag full of jam pieces, bananas, stuff like that. So my first West Highland Way, I think I must have had a dozen jam pieces. Jam sandwich, for anybody that might not understand what that is. Bananas, ambrosia, custard pudding, and Muller rice pudding, and all these were used as well. Milkshakes, fruit loaf, gels, whatever, just anything you could really eat. I have had a handful of chips at Kinloch leaving, the same as for probably everybody. I like the odd cup of tea, but progress now, like the event I did, the 110k at Nice there on the mountains, was predominantly gels. I had about 20 SIS gels, handful of crisps, and mixed in with watermelon and that, because one of them is the time difference. You try and eat proper food and it sticks in your teeth, and as opposed to the liquid stuff. I took a huge box of custard pudding to France like as well for my drop bag, because it's much easier than rice pudding and the milkshakes and all these type of things. But the nutrition's bewildering now. There's so many products in it. If you find something you like and works for you, I know again, Mike, you're a great fan of proper food and it works for you, but if somebody can get by on gels or sports drink. When I first started the West Highland Way, I was drinking SIS sports drink. I was drinking I had two Camelbacks, which is totally wrong. One with a half litre of water, one with a half litre SIS, Go Watermelon, and trying to drink this before the advent of drink to thirst, the hyponatremia thing, people flooding their body with fluid and end up getting into difficulty because of that, diluting their blood plasma, their sodium and everything, and end up with mental status changes and end up in the hospital. So I ditched all that. I realised that I didn't need half a litre, I just need 250 mils, roughly an hour. And I've seen that when I was training on the route, no matter even if it was quite warm weather. Everybody themselves, if you're a big person, you sweat a lot, you'll need more. But that's probably the biggest thing that I learned over the years. Because the first 3 years, I was okay during the race, but I was violently sick the next day and all the way home. And it must have been an electrolyte imbalance, which is drinking far too much fluid, but taking a wee while to catch up on me. Once the adrenaline had stopped and your body was starting to think, no, I'm in a bad state here, I'm just going to start vomiting every lay-by. So, but aye, not so much has changed, but I'd probably still eat custard puddings and all that type of thing. But the drink to thirst, I believed in that, and it was done on research by people. So I don't know. I've heard again. There's some bigger people that are filling up so many soft flasks, and it's hot and stuff. Your body's really good at telling you, I'm struggling here. I need a drink, but I'm no needing that much of water. The first West Highland Way I was doing it with friends. And they were a bit bigger than me, and we're out for a jolly. Let's all stop for a pee at once. Let's all have a drink, and I'm okay, guys. Then and just drinking for far too much, and it came back to bite me. So.
And one of the questions that I really like to ask more experienced runners like yourself that have been doing West Highland Way in particular for a long, long time, how has the technology and the kit evolved from when you started to current day now? I would imagine back then we didn't have Strava, even like mobile phones. What we would say is quite straightforward now. Like you could just go and no one knew where you were.
Well, the biggest changes is the race vest and the shoes.
Mm-hmm.
The race vest for its lightness and its practicality. The shoes, although it's the older now, I done all my West Highland Way races in road shoes, every single one. And that wasn't even when there was a lot more mud and bog. It's everybody's thing, like, but I wanted the cushioning because I had I've got screws in my knee, I've got a really smashed up leg, so I wanted the cushioning, and there's an awful lot of road and Hard Park Trail as well. So another thing is we had the boil in the bag jackets, which never really breathed at all, so you had as much water inside them, and the products nowadays are phenomenal. The lightweight and the waterproofness and the breathability, but I would say shoes and obviously the GPS watches. I mean, I've done numerous hill races, and it's mapping a compass and stuff, and the time that involves, the cold hands. I can hardly see anything without my glasses. I can barely see my watch, never mind a map and an ordnance survey, a compass, but it's probably that. Plus the bewildering array of sports drinks and sports products, like which you can choose to use or not, like, although I've always used the gels, like. And I love the shoes for the mountain races abroad. The toe boxes, when I've done a lot of my Ben Nevis races, Jura, all these hill races, I was using Walshes, and there was no toe box whatsoever. Great grip and very light and dried quickly. But if you smacked any stone, it was like hitting your toes with a hammer. Where the toe boxes, even on the ultra lightweight ones, they're phenomenal. I've used numerous pairs, the Salomon Ultra Sense, Sense Ultras, the red and white ones, the purple ones, all these things. I think they're fantastic. They fit me like a glove. I've got narrow feet, but I've also used Hokas. I had the first pair of clown shoes, the big sort of bouncy fluorescent ones that everybody called the clown shoes. And they're great, like they're so comfortable, but high starch, so more chance of going over your ankles. But getting a chance to try these things is often a problem because they're very expensive. So if you get a pair you like, go out and buy a few pair before they change and make them wider or something different, and it doesn't agree with you then.
Yeah, you said I think it was the Oni Hokas that used to look like clown shoes, and nowadays they're almost normal. You wouldn't know that they used to be boats. You could cross rivers in them.
Well, I've still got a couple of pairs of them that are still serviceable, and I've used them to support the West Highland Way because they're really like baffies, which is a word for slippers in Fife, and they're so comfy just to wander a bit on. And if you've got water underfoot. It needs to be a couple of inches deep before it goes into the hookers. But I think, Mike, everybody else has started making the Maximal shoes now. The Salomons have got big shoes, and Nike and all these road rocker type maximalist shoes are just almost as big as the original clown shoes that come for hooker. But it was a revelation at the time, like, rather than being minimalist, let's go maximalist and have huge things. Like, there was two guys from Salomon that decided on that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And we've mentioned lots of races. Next question, it might not be a race, it might just be something you've done. What is the biggest adventure or achievement that you've had?
Difficult one there, because they've all felt achievement at the time when I finished in Munros. As you say, I'm delighted I was the first person to do 10 sub 24 hour West Highland Ways. The 5 UTMBs, the struggle. I started the UTMB 7 times, like I finished at 5, so I've been fortunate to have toured that atmosphere at the church. The only race I've ever run and punched the air when I've finished is the Glencoe Skyline 2017. The cut-offs were relentless. It was a race you had to submit a CV, a climbing experience, scrambling experience. And there was me next to Killian, with someone in common. We'd both finished the UTMB a fortnight before it. So he was in the front, I was in the back. So I'm thinking there's going to be something similar here, but that was relentless because they reserved the right to withdraw you at any point. So I'm thinking, I got through the cut-off of the road, are they going to let me climb up to another Keeger? Say, sorry, pal, you're too slow, because I only got through there by minutes. And the same, but I'm running down that West Highland Way. It's getting dark. I thought, I know where I'm going. I don't need a head torch. And there was only my wife, 3 marshals or something, and I was only to have run and punched there. I felt so ecstatic at finishing that race. It was brilliant. Another achievement that I felt was fantastic was climbing Mont Blanc twice. Once with Paul Giblin, and I enjoyed it that much. I went back the following year and climbed it on my own. It was just a spectacular day and a challenge, and I was lucky with the weather and got away with it fine. I mentioned earlier I've done an awful lot of cycling. I've done 2 stages of the Tap de Tour, which is like a stage of the tour for amateurs. One I've done the Pyrenees and one in the Alps, and they were brilliant because not just climbing the mountains on your bike, you have 55 mile an hour descents, and I loved that Wilma motorbike experience. And the crowds are out, the people are alleying, and bottles of water in your neck, and that was absolutely unbelievable. 5 Transvolcania finishes, just a such spectacular event. I'm not going on here in the night, and I have to mention the finish in the first UTMB MCC, which is the race for the kind of locals and people that have managed to be lucky to get an entry like myself. And I'd fractured my proximal humerus when a mountain fall 3 weeks before it in Chamonix. And I had this all trussed up when I was in the hospital, and they're going to put metal work in it. And in the back of my mind, I was thinking, I wonder if I could toe the line here in 3 weeks at this race, but I've been very fortunate to get an entry. And my wife was kind of like seen the great water, and she just sort of doesn't say anything. Like, and I says, I'm going to have a go at this race. She said, I thought you might. So it was pouring the rain, 3 degrees, it was snow on one of the coals, but I managed to finish, and that was such a relief. And again, I felt that was a fantastic achievement. But I think the biggest one, though, and I've not mentioned this early on, forgive me, but when I just got started running, I done about 46 races in 2 years, and then I had a bad accident on my motorbike coming back from Glencoe, and my tibia plata was shattered in 7 bits, and it was broken further down. I broke my ribs, fingers, toes, and everything. But it was such a catastrophic break that in Perth Hospital, the senior consultant says, we're not going to try and fix this. It's too dangerous, too difficult. But there's a student that I taught in Nine Wells. He'll enjoy trying to fix this. So they sent me along there. It was early days with the fixation stuff for routine kind of things. They're exposing fractures, so he put an external fixator on some internal screws, and away I went with that for 3 months, and then I had a hinge plaster cast on, a full plaster cast, and it wasn't healing, so he says, can you try and stress it? Boy, I tried to stress it. I was out walking 10 miles with a hinge plaster cast on. I had my mum and Gail up my local Falkland Hill with a full plaster cast on and crutches. I was out with a rucksack with weighted catalogues, bottles of water and stuff to stress it even more. Well, it bent that much that it went from 5 degrees, 12, 15, 30 degrees, and it was flexing at the knee, and it was really painful. I could barely walk. I was sick. But thankfully, the consultant says I'm going to have to try and straighten that. And it was like to me, wow, there is a Santa Claus, because it would just got so bad. I would never been able to walk properly. Little did I know that the straightening operation was going to be worse than the accident. So he took me in. I got a couple of cancellations. I went in on Christmas Eve, I think it was in December 98. He rebroke it all, sawed a bit out. He put in another 11 screws in the screws that were already there on a 6-inch plate, took a bone graft off my hip, jammed it in at the gap, pulled the leg round to try and stick the bone graft in. I had another ages off my work trying to rehab with this, trying to walk on it and walk on it. And meanwhile, I was trying to still do some Munros when I was rehabbing and getting back on the go again. But I had a much better job than before. It was pretty much straightened, but I started to get all these problems. 2001, 2002, redness, local inflection, where the bottom screw on one of the plate was arcing against the plate, like an electrolyte hanging. It was causing a whole redness through my leg and caused localized infection and pain and burning. So it took me back in, took out 9 of the screws in the 6-inch plate, and I'd asked the consultant, can I have all that metalwork? He says, aye, okay. So a nurse turns up with the stuff all covered in blood in a plastic bag, says, you're honoured. The consultant says, you have to get this, and there's nobody usually gets screws or plates, so I've got that as a souvenir. So anyway, I've started to build myself back up again, and unfortunately, just right at the back of that, bang, my heart started to go. So I was trying to work round everything, like, but that's probably my biggest achievement. My rehab was just extreme, but boy, did it learn me the mental strength and develop that to try and get through ultras after getting through all that trauma, catastrophic injuries at the time. So, and unfortunately, though, I've been lucky all these years to get away with what I've done with all the osteoarthritis that I've had in that knee, but it's now cracking and crunching and creaking and unstable and giving way. So I'm basically limping a bit now, and I used to love descents, the rougher the better, but I'm pretty slow now. But such is life. I'm getting pretty old now, and I'll keep doing it. But that's probably in a nutshell. But I've been pleased with everything I've managed to do, and even the 10Ks and the halves and stuff like that. I'm not saying even, they were wonderful coming from a background of smoking for 18 years, and totally a life I never expected. The people I've met and the achievements shared with people like have been so much sweeter as well. So
I think in the time that I've been doing this podcast with Mike, I genuinely think that's been one of the best answers for the achievement question, because we ask it to most guests, and that's phenomenal, Bob. So
one of the longest answers, did you?
Quite right as well. I would be saying about all of it as well. Another wee side question for me off of the back of the achievement question. I'm curious, where do you keep all your goblets?
When I got this house about 20 years ago, there was the guy was a joiner that built it, and there was sort of old-fashioned cabinets along the living room wall with like a mantelpiece. So they fit on one of the shelves, which is fine. So they're in there. So that's not the reason I stopped. I would love to go back and get another one, but there isn't any room anyway, so that's fine.
build another shelf.
So I was perfect. There was a space to stuff them in, like, and it was just ideal. And it's a nice reminder when I look at them as some spectacular adventures, memories.
And aside from telling your cardiologist that you'll put on weight if you don't do it, why do you run?
Well, originally, as I said, the lifestyle change. I still like partying, and we were still going to a bit. I've been trying to stop smoke for about 7 years and never lasted any more than a few weeks. So I was a determined effort. And then once I'd experienced what it's like to be fit, I become evangelical. And I mean, it's true that you bore people that don't run in that, like, because they didn't get it. Then it's not, I mean, I'll honestly say it was addiction. I couldn't get enough of it. If I was lucky that my heart wouldn't go bang, I would go and plan to do maybe 5 mile. I'd stay and do 10. It was just great. So training was probably too much. I didn't too much. I didn't have enough rest. And it gave me time. It helped me cope as well, obviously, at the time. But I was pointed out to me by a clinical psychologist that was helping Gail and I to help me to help her deal with chronic pain. So there wasn't much hope medically. That she says your husband's up there on the roof is just another level of stress, another stressor, the running, because I was trying to fit in runs and get back to do other things. I wasn't relaxed there. I'm away here and smelling the flowers, and I was always like, I've got to go out, and I'm halfway around the foot. Oh, it's too long, and I've got to get back. So there is that thin line between the good drugs and the bad drugs, like especially on ultras. You have this. There's one time, 2009, the West Highland Way. I got terrible first half, brilliant second half. I just got faster and faster, and I felt better and better. First time in music, no support runners, goes up the top of Devil's Staircase. I've got the tunes in, the sun's still out, it was reasonable time at night, and the Verve, Lucky Man, come on with the guitar intro, that Holland guitar, gets to the top. I look back, look a little more, everybody knows what it's like. The music was in and all that was missing. If you've seen Nicolas Cage in The Rock, when he's trying to stop the plane coming and he bangs the 2 flares down and they're up in the air, that's all I was missing, and the helicopter shot in the video. And I just turned down and headed downhill to Kinlochleven, which is one of my favourite bits. Just memories like that take you back, that huge hit. And the same time, all the shorter races, you met people, you meet them all the time. There's a great cakes in the village hall, cup of tea, a crack in the winter. You have fun about in bog and mud, the hill races. You never felt you put enough effort in. If you didn't have a skint elbow or a skint knee or a smashed forehead, broke my hand one year and managed to finish, like, and I collapsed in the Premier Inn in 2008 after the West Highland Way, like, and broke 3 ribs and punctured my lung on the toilet room, which I used to use as when people say, what's your worst running related injury? And that was it. Again, and I've expressed that to people when they think if you're going to pass out, it's the 10, 15 minutes after it. Well, not necessarily, because that was about an hour and 30 minutes. I think it was just exercise associated postural hypertension. I'd been lying down for about half an hour, needed a pee, got up, darkness, didn't want to put the extractor fan on, wake my wife, nothing on, lifted the toilet room being a gentleman, and that final head down was, oh no, I'm gone here. So I turned around, put the light on, bang, onto the rim and broke the ribs and punctured my lung. Nightmare. So always look after, if you're supporting people, keep an eye on them, because they could just conk out without any warning. So many reasons, and it's changed obviously over the year, Nicky, like from when I started to now. I'm just trying to keep going. I'm just trying to have an adventure and hope there's another adventure, and realising that they'll be coming to an end shortly, probably, but I still want to keep trying, because to get back, it helps me in my daily life. If you're active up to this level, then stuff at the last level becomes a bit more manageable. So I would just keep trying to do something. And I love the community. I love everybody I've met, all the people I've shared time with, and people say that they feel that they know what I'll be a hanger on, and I get that as well. I mean, you mentioned the piling things. I've often felt a hanger on because I've not been able to go out and some of the runs maybe because I know I'm going to have to stop, and it's not because I'm not trying hard enough or I've not done enough training, and you just feel self-conscious. So the older you get, just as an individual, you feel you get rubbed out a bit at time. You become invisible. It's like Back to the Future. You're just becoming more and more, you're just an old guy, whether you can do it or I might have been different in your day, mate, Ken. And so, I don't know, I'm probably just given here because there's so many answers to that over the 30 plus years, really, from when I started. Like, I remember my first half marathon, it was scorching hot, and I'm conking out a 10-mile thing. This is a crazy idea. I'm hating this. I'm never doing it again. Well, the first race, and within a couple of years, I'd done 45 events and about 30 half marathons, like, and I couldn't get enough of it. I just loved it. And the cycling as well, it was great. Although the good thing about the cycling, you get downhill. You didn't get that on the run, you've got to keep going all the time.
I was listening to a podcast with Lucy Colquhoun, and she was saying that she feels that sort of hanging on, you're just a has-been. And I actually think that is, it's not right. It's upsetting that somebody like yourself, somebody like Lucy, who has been there, done it, people nowadays, they're not thinking that you're a has-been. Or it might be because they don't know about your story. Well, you're telling your story tonight, and I think they need to hear it and respect it. I don't even know what to say about it, but you're there because you've earned the place, not because you're hanging on.
Aye, thanks, Mike. I'll probably a wee bit happier that I managed to finish a couple of big events last year. Mentioned Lucy there. I know Lucy. I've known her for a long time. Really nice person. What she did was phenomenal. Like compared to people like myself that were just trying to finish. Like, but on that race in 2007, when she broke the record, I was supporting my mate who was fourth, so I was right next to Lucy quite a bit as she was progressing up the West Highland Way. So it was a great memory as well. I seen her on that day. And I did my first ablation like a month before it, and I turned up at the start, and Dario was going, "You're not running, you're not getting to run," because I just had I thought about it, but my wife says, no way you're doing that like 4 weeks after it. And to be honest, you need time for it to settle down. Like that. I was keen. I was really keen.
You are keen. The things that you must think about are, I would say that health is obviously there when you're running, but what is it you think about the most when you're running?
Well, nowadays it's trying to breathe and having to stop and what my heart's doing. It's impossible to get away from it, sadly, and I've bored hundreds of people probably. But as soon as I get up in the morning and I put my t-shirt and move my hands, it kicks off. And I go, whoa, I've got to sit down again until it settles down. And when I go out for a run, I'm trying to do some burpees at the back or jump up and down or run back and forth, and then trying to get settled in. So it's pretty consuming. Apart from that, I'm looking to where my feet go, tripping on things, the usual stuff that everybody thinks, and I'm thinking, should I adjust my pacemaker? Is it going too fast? Is it not going fast enough? Or why am I doing this? Why do I keep doing this? I'm freezing. I'm always cold because it's affected my hemodynamics as well, circulation and the blood flow and oxygen with interradial delay. The valves are not opening and shutting at the right time. So I'm desperate to get back to warmer weather so that I can feel pleasant with. I mean, if it's nicer weather, you can just walk a bit. When it's cold, I've got to go dressed as a walker and try and run, or do I go dressed as a runner and then I'm freezing. So And a lot of time I will put some music on there, podcasts, your podcasts. I've listened to loads of them, and they're brilliant, and it's great to hear other people's stories. So I just try and drift. Like, I have used a gym for the last 10, 15 years, so that helps when it's cold. I'll hike on a gradient or a stepper, or I'll try and do some runs, and I like going to spin classes as well. So it all helps keep the general fitness. So that the reason I'm doing it is hopefully getting the summer and I can still go up the hills and at least hike and run down and do what I can.
And going forward, what would be your dream race or on the bucket list race? Have you got many on that list?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, it's long past since I can sort of pick a race target, train properly, and go and do some races. So realistically, it's just things that invariably involve during the holiday. So I entered the Madeira Island Ultra Trail at the end of April, but it's a bad time of year for me. It's too cold. I've had umpteen chest infections, whatever. But I'll have a go, and I've got a holiday booked. A friend that's persuaded has entered me into one of the shorter races in the Grand Trail Cormayar in Italy in beginning of July, and another one that I've done before. That was on trail, a shorter one in the near Chamonix, and then I have managed to get myself CCC entry in the UTMB. So that'll be a real big challenge to make the cut-off. So, but I'll give it a go. So realistically, I'm building myself up to try and have a go at a 5K park run. I've never done a park run. I've barely, I mean, I'm trying to can run a few kilometres without stopping, and I'd love to just, I bought my first pair of big bouncy shoes. I bought a pair of, they're not quite that bouncy, like, but a pair of Asics Nova Blast, and I've been trying to sneak out on the roads again a wee bit to try and see if I could run. So ultimately, I would love to be able to just go along and do a 10K or something like that, but everybody expects you to run, and when you've stopped after 100 metres, it's a bit embarrassing because you're trying to get some air and then start again. But no, my days are going to big events, well, new events, and that's where I've picked ones that are mountain. I've got a chance of hiking up, and as long as I can, gravity seems to help me a big cell. It seems to suit my settings a bit better. So I could still do downhill, but I'm pretty good on technical terrain. It doesn't faze me. The more technical, the better, because it slows everybody else up. All these boulders and ski and all that sort of thing. And then just trying to make cut-offs. And obviously, I've got a bit of experience about nutrition, getting out of checkpoints, can mental strength, keep them going, and then your true grit, channeling your true grit, whatever you need to do. So that's next for me. So keep my fingers crossed and keep trying to do something up the Lowlands.
That's some difference, Bob, mountain races to park run.
The reason I picked that is there's probably like maybe 1,000 people I can just hide amongst at the back and try and get round. I think I managed a 5K there before Christmas, and I don't know, 36 minutes or something, but everything is full gas for me. That's the problem. My pacemaker is way up high. I can't get any breath when it's doing low, so everything's full gas, which is probably detrimental maybe to my long-term health, but I'm way beyond the Rubicon now for really worrying about whether I've hammered my heart beyond the redemption, and that's what I say for to use and to have some memories look back at. One life, all is just there.
One life, live it. And next question is there anybody, either fictional, real, alive or not, that you would like to go for a run with?
All the friends that I've met over the years and I've spent time in the mountains with and on the trails, and I would love to go back out every one of them, and sadly there's quite a few that are no longer here that I've had spectacular memories. So really, the people I've shared and had these great times with, the camaraderie just mentioned earlier, where we were friends, going to a place, having a banter, the race, the running was just part of it, but great days with shared suffering, shared challenges, shared achievements. That's one disappointment doing the Munros, how I done them, because I never really knew anybody. I probably did 98% of the Munros on my own. Then I'd come back and my wife would get subjected to the boredom. Oh man, you want to see this today, shot across the river. I thought I was gone in every week, and all these stories that you might have shared with other people would have a laugh. But no, just everybody I've ever known. I've had the pleasure and I've been lucky to meet some wonderful people and share the trails and the mountains and the social side after having a beer and laughing about things, and people with souls hanging off their trainers and because they've no bought another pair, and all these daft stories like so as much as I like to sit down with a cup of coffee with Kelly or somebody and crack away, I'm like nah, just all the people I've known and all the people all the friends.
Killian would be honoured to have a coffee with you, Bob, with all your
Well,
achievements, and would probably get advice from you. So
as you realise, once I get started, there's no stopping me. So if you've got any specific questions, I could probably give some sort of information.
and this has been a fantastic chat, Bob. So once again, thank you so much for coming on. Unless Mike has any other questions, we like to finish off on a philosophical note. For runners who are facing setbacks, whether it be physical, emotional, life shifting, which you've got much experience in, what mindsets carried you through the hardest times you've been through?
Well, a lot of the problems that you might get are unavoidable, and if you want to remain like in those circumstances, you've got to sort of find a way to deal with them, or you've got to walk away. And pretty much everything that's been presented to me, I've wanted to be in that situation and had to, well, not want to be in a situation, but had to deal with it. I'm probably talking here on a personal basis, like, but it's the same as like ultras, getting through trauma, broken bones, heart problems. Get as much information as you can that might help you deal with that problem, or might help you to find somebody that might help you to deal with that problem, or a way to deal with it. The ups and downs, black clouds. I've had a lot of black clouds, a lot of dark days of feeling helpless and hopeless. But trying to look at the small steps, same again as an ultra, the next checkpoint or the next gate, the bottom of the hill, the top of the hill, the bottom of the hill again. Do you need talk about admin now, and I just looked at physical and mental management. Like, do you need something to eat? Do you need a pee? Do you think you need a pee? You want to stop? You need a rest? You want something to eat? You need a drink? You drink too much? You're going too fast? You're going too slow? You're too cold? Too warm? Take your jacket off, put it back on. All these type of things. And it's I found out a load of stuff to do with my heart problem on my own. I was lucky. I randomly emailed cardiologists and I got replies, and I found out things, and I was very fortunate. I got a great consultant on my leg, but find out what you can do yourself, break it down small steps. If you need the fresh air, clear your head, get outside, go for a walk, go talk to somebody, get up the mountains, appreciate nature, and then try and look at what you have got. Be positive. I mean, I'm a kind of half empty guy a lot of the time. I've had low esteem throughout my life. And I don't know, maybe that's why I keep trying to do these things. I keep hoping that I'll achieve something. I mean, it seems daft, like, but so try and give yourself a pat on the back now and again for what you have achieved, and not beat yourself up, and again, get back, you've only one life, so, and it's never going to be perfect. You're all going to make mistakes and struggle, and we're all human and we're all frail, and there's always going to be somebody better, faster, higher, longer, or more often. You know what I mean? You're an experiment of one, as you say, and you just want to try and work for your best. But in a challenge, you're in a true grit, like, and digging in, keeping going, do your best, do what you can, and whatever you've done, it's an achievement and it's success. And if it's no like, just try and move on and learn from it. There are things new, there's so many social influencers and folk making a living out of coming out with these sort of lifestyle kind of hacks. I hate that word. What's wrong with the word tip? But I just go for it as best you can. There are always going to be things getting in the way and try and overcome them.
And I think that's brought us to a close for tonight. And we might have lost some people with the detail that you've went into in your heart problems, but that's okay because we were fascinated about it.
I apologise about that. I thought I was going to say, right, I lost some people because you've been boring and talking too much. Like that.
No, it wasn't boring. It was just, it was so technical.
It's impossible to mention that some of the technicalities. I apologise about that. And if anybody wants to get in, I had a message from somebody that night that a friend's got an arrhythmia problem. Can I give them any advice? I'm quite happy to, but I mean, it's a long, complicated journey, and I never got the question about hallucinations.
Well, if you're wanting to answer that,
I've got a cracker for that. If you've got
what is the? You've done many races that have taken you through mountains, up and down the West Highland Way. What is your best hallucination during it?
My first West Highland Way is like started at 2 a.m, so you were getting a wee bit dark, and I had the standard ones like you're seeing white reflections, you think it's a minibus or animals or whatever, and I did have frogs jumping in front of you, and they were real frogs on that last bit of Lindava because it was pretty money. But first UTMB 2011, never been in that type of mountain race. I hadn't been at altitude. I'd been cycling there on the Tour de France stages, but so kicks off, delayed to 11:30 at night. So the sleep deprivation is going to be at the box. In total, it was 65 hours. Up 8:30 in the morning, text, storm coming in, it's going to start at 11:30 at night. Fine. Pouring the rain. We've got -10, snow, sleet, everything going on the coldest saying. On into the halfway point. So they changed the route, unknown to me. You're getting text, I wasn't looking for. As long as there's somebody there, they've no stopped me, I'll just keep going. So I'm keeping going. And they've changed the route. Bovine checkpoint got blown away because it was too windy and too dangerous for the marshals. So they rerouted your way around the Martingale. So I'm coming down to Martingale, and somehow I'm thinking, this is Valorcine. So 6 o'clock in the morning, I think, I'm doing great time here. I'm getting the sunglasses on and I'm getting the phone sparked away, and I thought, bro. So we goes in the trail and I see all these people going up and doing vineyards on the path. I thought, why are we going up there? Now we're up this road towards these vineyards and they're just adding on vert climb there. And there's a few young guys lying about the road at that time of the morning, smoking the spliff, like, and they've got the bottle of wine and they're all looking at what are you guys doing? I'm saying, what are you doing? Like, so anyway, I get to the Valorcine, I've not got a clue. I'd bought these Mizuno Wave Harrier with no toe box. They were too small. My feet were absolute agony. So I popped a couple of paracetamol and codeine tablets. So I'm probably thinking these must have had an effect. So I get to the Valorcine, we're in the marquee, I walk through. I totally forget I'm in a race. So I gets on the phone, early mobile phone, phones up my wife. I say, what's the quickest way to Chamonix? And she thinks, I've had a stroke. So she's shouting, George Reid, saying, George, talk to him, like, I think he's had a stroke. And I'd say to her, has George got the minibus? So he's asking about the minibus. So George comes up phone, just ask for some directions, mate. Just ask for some direction. And I noticed I had a number on. An American comes there and says, what's your problem, mate? I says, what's the way to Chamonix? She says, oh, you've come at the marquee the wrong way. And we're like, crack on and go back. Anyway, I had not a clue. I'm on the phone. I don't know if it's a hallucination or a brain fade like that. I blamed it on him. I eventually got finished. It was in the evening at the pub, 2 o'clock in the morning, sleep deprivation, but that was a cracker. And it's the only ever one I've had, Mike, is keep thinking people are behind you. Keep turning around and keep thinking people are behind you in the dark. I don't know if it's shadows or straps in your rucksack or something like that. Like, but if you get a hallucination, good value for money. Definitely. Well, I forgot on that same race prior to that, near Champion-Lac, you go through woods and everything, and I'm thinking I'm seeing a big spider. And what it was actually a guy shoving his mountain bike. He had a puncture. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and he had fluorescent smokes. And my head torch was hitting him. And I'm seeing this thing going bottom for it. And then shortly at the back of that, I'm apologising to a couple that are sitting under a tree, snogging. Were they there? I have no idea. I don't know what my head touched. I looked at it, there was someone there that looked like 2 people. And then embraced us, sort of said, sorry. I don't know, madness. But that's what keep taking you back. It's such an adventure, eh? And I'll let you go now. Thank you.
Well, Bob, it has been fantastic. There's one, I think, and I think Nicky will agree with this, there's a saying that I think Bob sums this up, and it's, we don't stop because we grow older because we stop. And there's no stopping for Bob. So,
No.
Absolutely, thank you. Aye. That's a nice way of putting it, Mike, thank you.
So, it's just, from me, thank you, Nicky, for being Nicky. Thank you, Bob, for all the detail, all the openness of everything. And it's goodbye from me.
Thanks very much for inviting me. Thank you. Take care. Bye.